I thought my life was perfect, married for 6 years to a man I adored, living in a beautiful home, building a future together. But one evening, everything shattered. My husband, Alex, left his phone on the kitchen counter while he went to the gym. A notification popped up, and out of a weird gut feeling, I unlocked it. What I found was a voice note sent to his gym buddy. I pressed play, and his laughter filled the room, followed by words that would echo in my mind forever. "She's just a bank account with a face," he said. The sound of his amusement like a knife in my heart, he went on, bragging about his new success. He'd recently started his own consulting business and was finally making real money, around $20,000 a month. He told his friend he was finally ready to leave me to find what he called a vibrant upgrade. Apparently, the woman who had supported him through years of struggle, who had encouraged him to start his own business, was now disposable. An old model to be traded in. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. A strange, cold calm washed over me. He thought he was so clever, so powerful with his newfound income, but in his arrogance, Alex had forgotten one crucial detail. He had forgotten my profession. I'm a forensic accountant. When he decided to launch his business, he was too lazy, too overwhelmed, or just too uninterested to handle the boring paperwork. "You're so good with numbers. Babe, can you just handle it?" he'd said. So I did. I set up his entire limited liability company, his LLC. I filed all the documents, set up the business bank accounts, and structured the entire financial framework. And while I was doing all that, I added a little clause to the operating agreement, a clause that made me a silent 50% owner of the entire company. He had signed everything without a second glance, too excited about his new venture to bother with the fine print. He just saw the signature line and scribbled his name. He saw me as a convenience, a tool to be used. He had no idea how right he was, just not in the way he thought. The next few days were a blur of quiet, calculated action. While he was at the gym, flexing his muscles and planning his new life, I was flexing mine. I logged into the business accounts, the ones I had full administrative access to. I saw the profits, the client payments, the growing balance he was so proud of. And I started moving money. It wasn't stealing. It was simply transferring my rightful share. 50% of all liquid assets. 50% of the cash reserves. I moved it all into a new account under my name only. I went through our shared finances with a fine-toothed comb. I documented every asset, every investment, every single dollar we had. I compiled a mountain of evidence, not just of his financial success, but of my integral role in building it from the ground up. I was no longer his wife in my heart. I was an auditor closing a very personal, very painful case. I packed my bags quietly, taking only what was truly mine. The whole time, he was oblivious, floating on a cloud of his own ego, sending me texts about what he wanted for dinner. The day he chose for his grand breakup speech arrived. He told me he wanted to have a serious talk that evening. "We need to discuss our future," he texted, the message dripping with false sincerity. I knew exactly what was coming. He was going to sit me down, give me some rehearsed lines about growing apart, and then deliver the final blow. He probably imagined me breaking down, begging him to stay, but I had my own schedule. 10 minutes before he walked through the door, my lawyer filed our divorce papers electronically. The moment he stepped inside, his phone buzzed. It was an email notification, the official confirmation of the divorce filing. He looked at his phone, his brow furrowed in confusion. He looked up at me, standing there with my suitcase by the door. "What is this?" he asked, his voice shaking. I just smiled, a real smile for the first time in days. "It's my vibrant upgrade," I said. "I'm divorcing you." His face went from confusion to disbelief, then to pure panic. "You can't divorce me. I'm the one who's leaving you," he sputtered, his carefully planned speech completely forgotten. "Are you?" I asked calmly, "because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're a little late to the party." He started rambling, trying to regain control, telling me he'd be generous, that he'd give me a small settlement to get me on my feet. That's when I delivered the final blow. "You might want to check the business accounts." "Alex," I said, my voice steady, "you seem to be a little light on funds. As your 50% business partner, I've already moved my share of the profits. From the company I legally..." The color drained from his face. He scrambled for his phone, his hands trembling as he tried to log into his banking app. I could see the exact moment the reality hit him. The numbers on the screen told a story he couldn't deny. He wasn't the powerful business mogul about to dump his boring wife. He was a man who had just lost half of everything. He looked up at me, his eyes wide with a desperation I'd never seen before. "How could you do this?" he whispered. "You did this," I replied, my voice hard as steel. "You called me a bank account with a face. You used me. You planned to throw me away the second you felt successful. You just forgot that this bank account has a brain. A very, very good brain for numbers." I told him about the LLC agreement he never bothered to read. I explained that not only was I taking half the money, but I still owned half the company. He couldn't dissolve it without my consent. He couldn't make major financial decisions without my approval. He couldn't even sell it without buying me out. And how could he buy me out? I had just taken all of his liquid cash. He wanted an upgrade. Now, he was a man with a fancy apartment lease he could no longer afford on his own, a car payment that was suddenly daunting, and a business partner who held all the cards. He tried everything. He begged. He threatened to sue. My lawyer just laughed. On what grounds? She asked him over the phone. She legally owns half the company you both built. He called me crying, saying he made a terrible mistake. But the man on the phone wasn't the man I married. He was a stranger who had revealed his true character. The love I had for him had turned to ash the moment I heard that voice note. There was no going back. The divorce was surprisingly quick. With the LLC agreement and the financial records I had prepared, he had no leg to stand on. He was forced to agree to my terms. He had to buy me out of the company over a period of 5 years. Within every month, a significant portion of the income he was so proud of gets deposited directly into my account, a constant reminder of his mistake. Today, I'm living a life that is truly my own. I use the money to start my own financial consulting firm, helping other women protect themselves and understand their finances. I turned my pain into my purpose. As for Alex, he had to downsize his life significantly. The vibrant upgrade he was chasing disappeared the moment his financial situation changed. He's still running the business, but he's no longer the arrogant man I once knew. He's just a guy working hard to pay off the debt. He owes his ex. He saw me as a stepping stone, but he forgot that sometimes the stepping stone is actually the foundation. And when you remove the foundation, the whole house comes crashing down. He wanted to trade me in for a new model, but he ended up with a lemon. And me, I got my freedom, my self-respect, and a very healthy bank account. And that, I can tell you, is the best revenge of all. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever felt undervalued, remember your own strength. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.